Hi Uvians, Harry here, and welcome to my breakdown of Doctor Who Redacted Series 2, Episode 4, Spaceman. And this episode, we finally get some answers to what has been going on in this series, and I will be breaking down all the hidden details that you might have missed. But before we get into the video, don't forget to subscribe, also leave a like and comment down below, and let's get into the video. So before we actually get into the actual episode, this episode's title, Spaceman, is of course referring to the character of Apex. Because of course he's from space, he's an alien, and he is, well, the main character behind, obviously, the three leads of Abby, Shawna and Cleo. So this title is referring to him. But it is also what Donna called the 10th Doctor in Series 4. She always called him Spaceman. And of course, Donna and the 10th Doctor, now the 14th Doctor, are returning for the upcoming 60th anniversary specials. So I just thought that would be a cool little thing that I can mention. But into the actual episode, it starts the same way that the last one ended, with Lady Honor Bray revealing to Cleo that Apex is a thief and that he promised to steal her a TARDIS. Now, Honor Bray is voiced by Dervla Kawan. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly, sorry if I butchered that. But she actually played Mercy Hartigan, who was the villain in the episode The Next Doctor. And she was helping the Cybermen, who were also the villains in that episode, basically create more Cybermen, and they made her the cyber leader before the Doctor broke her inhibitor chip and caused her to break all the Cybermen's inhibitor chips until they exploded. But yes, she has been in Doctor Who before in the main show, and she also has played multiple characters in Big Finish. Most notably, Lisbeth Hayo, who was the head of research at Torchwood 1 in the 1940s, and that was in all the Torchwood audio dramas. And she also played Miss Quill, who was the teacher from the spin-off Class. Previously, she was portrayed by Catherine Kelly, but Davila Kawan voices her in the Class, the Audio Adventures audio series. So she has played several really, big characters in the Doctor Who universe, and this is the next one in her list, of course, Honor Bray. But back to the episode, Apex manages to steal the serum from Honor that will save him from the radiation that the drone dosed him with in the episode of this series, Apex, which I did a breakdown of, so check that out if you haven't already. And once he has the serum that he grabs from Honor, he teleports him and Cleo to safety with his space manipulator that we first saw, heard him use in the episode Apex. And it is revealed that Apex has teleported himself and Cleo to his spaceship. Yes, that's right, he has a spaceship above Earth, and he opens the kind of shutters to reveal that it is floating above the Earth, just like the 9th Doctor did with Rose in the episode The End of the World. And of course this is a big deal for Cleo, like it was with Rose. Seeing them floating above the planet that they've lived on their whole life, they of course have never left that planet. It's just such a surreal feeling for Cleo, as well as it was for Rose in that episode, The End of the World. But of course, Cleo is also concerned with what Honor Bray said about Apex. So she asks Apex who he really is, and then slightly dramatic music starts playing as Apex tells Cleo who he actually is. And of course, this is a reference to the episode Apex, where happy music suddenly started playing when he lied to Cleo about his backstory in the episode Apex. But of course this episode is a contrast to that happy music, because back then in the episode Apex everything could be idealized, but now it's kind of the ugly truth. So, Apex starts with the fact that he originally was going to be an ICBA, but he is actually a reject from that instead of being an actual ICB agent. Of course, that was the bureau that he said he was from back in the episode Apex, and that they catalogued all of life in the whole universe, but that life wasn't for him. He goes on to say that he actually wanted the high life, but he quickly ran out of money because, well, he was a reject disowned by his family, because he didn't end up becoming an agent at the ICB, so he didn't have any money once he started his high life goal. So to earn money, he relocated refugees to Earth for a price, and Honor profited off those refugees by making them pay rent. So, as Cleo states, Apex is basically a people trafficker. And that is one of the worst things a person can be in the real world, so it is just as bad in the Doctor Who world as well. And on top of that, it doesn't seem like Apex is that clever, because it was quickly realised that the refugees couldn't pay the rent. And since Apex was the one bringing the refugees to Honor, she made him sign this agreement that said he was to pay if the refugees couldn't. And it was quickly revealed that they couldn't, so now he's running from Honor because she's making him pay for the refugees, which, of course, he doesn't have the money because this was his side hustle to get all the money. So now his profits, well, he's not getting any profit because Honor is keeping all the money that, well, she would be giving to him because he owes her even more money. However, Apex did have a plan to get Honor off his back because he knew that Honor was a collector and his family specialised all about Time Lords, so his family knew all about Time Lords, and he had this knowledge because, well, when he was growing up with his family and was thinking about becoming an agent, he talked to his family about, well, their job and all that. So he promised her a TARDIS, which he knew Time Lords had to travel through space and time. However, he didn't realise the Doctor was the last of the Time Lords, and therefore had the only TARDIS in existence. Even though this is technically a retcon, because the last time we saw the Master, he had a TARDIS, and also Gallifrey has loads of TARDISes, and Gallifrey is still, well, it's only organic matter that is dead there. So even though a TARDIS is kind of organic matter, would the death particle have killed off the TARDISes? Maybe, maybe not. So Gallifrey could still have a load of TARDISes on it, which can be accessed, as it has been several times that 12 has gone to Gallifrey, the Master has gone to Gallifrey, the 13th Doctor, they've gone to Gallifrey, so it can be accessed. So it's kind of a retcon that the Doctor's TARDIS is the last TARDIS in existence. But we'll let that slide for now, because Honor wants a TARDIS, and even when she finds out that the Doctor's TARDIS is the last one in existence, that only makes her want it more, which makes Apex seem even more stupid. So now he can get her a TARDIS. Apex says there's only two options to escape Honor's wrath. The first one, which he prefers, is just to run away and adventure across the universe, which Cleo actually takes a liking to at first. She says last year that's all she wanted to do, like run away off into the universe, have adventures. Of course, referencing the fact that she asked the 13th Doctor in the episode Salvation if she could travel through time and space with her. However, the Doctor turned her down, saying that she had people on Earth that wanted to be around her. And of course, Cleo still wants the notion, though, of travelling through time and space. And she says that she actually wants to rename the ship if she is coming with Apex from Apex's, Apex hasn't named his ship. because he stole it from the ICBA, as it's named the ICBA Model 9 Class 756. And Cleo wants to rename it to the Lily Savage. Now, if you don't know who Lily Savage is, she is the drag queen persona of the late Paul O'Grady, and this explains why Cleo, as a trans person, wants to name the ship after a trans queen persona, because it was a big part of the LGBTQ community, so which explains why she has such a connection to that other persona of Paul O'Grady, so much that she wants to name the ship that she could run off through time and space, have her maybe idealised life after a drag queen persona. However, Apex does fix Cleo's phone that got broken in the episode Apex, just in case she wants to tell anyone what she is considering doing, or that's what Apex wants us and Cleo to think in the moment. But past that, Apex, as well as fixing Cleo's phone, enhances the phone signal by saying Cleo will be able to phone anyone from the spaceship, which is in orbit, just like how 9 did this with Rose's phone in the episode The End of the World, and 10 did with Martha's phone in the episode 42. And Cleo finds out, well, she actually can phone people, and she starts to have doubts when she can realise that she can phone people. And she asks where they would run off to if they could just run off at warp factor 10. And warp factor 10 is a reference to the other science fiction franchise Star Trek. So Cleo asks that where would they run off to, and Apex doesn't really have an answer. So Cleo decides that they can't just run away and asks Apex what the second option is to get Honor off their back. And Apex reveals that is to get Honor a TARDIS. Now again, we've explained that the Doctor's TARDIS is the last one that Apex knows of in the world, so how does he plan on getting this, and will Cleo go along with it? So Apex is kind of persuading Cleo this is the only option, and that he truly does care for the people in the underground, and that if he gets on a TARDIS, she won't take it out on him and Cleo, and also on the people on the underground. So Cleo compares him to Robin Hood, to which Apex asks, the sexy fox? Which, of course, is a reference to the Disney film of the same name, Robin Hood, back in 1973, where all the characters in this film were animals, and that this film was based on the legends of Robin Hood and also Renard the Fox. So it was kind of an amalgamation of a fox in the Middle Age who was also a knight, and also the legend of Robin Hood. And also, we have actually seen Robin Hood in the Doctor Who universe when the 12th Doctor and Clara met Robin Hood in the episode Robot of Sherwood. So Robin Hood actually does exist in the Doctor Who universe. And that is really the adventure that Cleo and Apex go on in this episode, because we now move on to Abby and Shawna. But before we get into what they have been investigating in this episode, when we first see them, they are trying to get in contact with Cleo. However, it goes through to an answer phone, and Cleo recorded herself saying, "Don't leave me a message, it's 2023," as her answer phone message. And of course, this is a reference to Doctor Who Redacted Series 1, the episode SOS, where the 13th Doctor left Cleo an answer phone message, but it glitched out, causing Cleo to delete it, and her saying, "It's 2022, who leaves a voicemail message nowadays?" So of course this line now is a reference to that same glitched answer phone message from the 13th Doctor, as Cleo doesn't want to deal with any voicemail messages. But now we get into what Abby and Shawna are investigating in this episode, and we find out that they are at Mr. Singh's Cash and Carry, after learning from Rani's podcast which is called Rani Takes on the World, which was first mentioned back in episode 1 of this series, Regrets, which I did a breakdown of, so check that out if you haven't already. But it's also seen that Rani mentioned that she had a podcast called Rani Takes on the World back in that episode, and they have learned from that podcast that Mr. Singh's cash and carry is secretly an alien black market. And they are at Mr. Singh's because he has had a break-in like all the Torchwood buildings that they have investigated in the past 3 episodes. So, of course, Mr. Singh's cash and carry is an important alien black market, because why would the thief break into, well, his cash and carry if it wasn't important to something to do with Torchwood and also the London Underground? And once they enter, Shawna asks an employee about the break-in, to which the employee just repeats, seafood on aisle 6. So realising that there's a code in that, Abby and Shawna make their way to aisle 6, where they find out that aisle 6 is the same as the entrance. Now that is insane, because of course aisle 6 can't be the same as the entrance, but it is. But Shawna sees something weird in aisle 6 that is not just that it's the same as the entrance, because she sees a man reach for a tin of cat food and just disappears, causing Abby and Shawna to do the same because he had to go somewhere. So it is revealed that the tin of cat food is actually a teleporter that teleports them to an alien office where Mr. Singh is waiting for the podcast hosts. But it is revealed that he isn't waiting for Abby and Shawna, the hosts of the Blue Box Files podcast. He actually has a meeting scheduled with Rani Chandra, because as I mentioned before, she has a podcast called Rani Takes on the World. And suddenly, while they're waiting for Mr. Singh to be ready for them, Abby and Shawna get a message from Cleo, because despite Cleo being in space, and of course Abby and Shawna being in an alien office that who knows where they are, Apex has boosted Cleo's phone so that she can get in contact with anyone despite wherever she is or wherever they are. And it's a selfie of her and Apex in space that Cleo took when, of course, her and Apex were on their spaceship just after he had boosted her phone signal. And this helps Abby and Shawna identify the thief, because when Mr. Singh gives them a picture of the thief from his CCTV footage, they find out, of course, who broke into his cash and carry. And Mr. Singh is then ready for them, and Abby and Shawna get an interview with Mr. Singh by pretending that they're producers from Rani's podcast. And a whole load of bombshells are dropped in this interview with Mr. Singh, because Mr. Singh reveals that he is from the future and that he sells artifacts from the past that have either gone extinct or gone missing to the future, and he sells medical products from the future to the past. So, of course, there are so many, modern advances in the future that they could help people in his past. And he also mentions that he has helped keep the London Underground up and running. So, of course, the London Underground is the storyline that have been revolving around Apex and Cleo. So that branches to how Abby and Shawna find Apex and Cleo at the end of this episode. And despite Mr. Singh at first going along with the pretense that Abby and Shawna are producers from Rani's podcast, he reveals that they know that they are actually Abby and Shawna from the Blue Box Files. And he says that he has faith that they are going to find his thief, because as he is from the future, the details are fuzzy, but he remembers that everything turns out okay, and that they do find his thief, and that the London Underground is saved, and his cash and carry isn't robbed anymore. And now that Mr. Singh has revealed that he knows who they are, he says, take this door, which is the London exit, saying that Cleo needs Abby and Shawna, which emphasises the fact that they're stronger together, which has been put across before, by the 13th Doctor saying that Abby, Shawna and Cleo all need each other. And before they leave, Abby asks for a photo of the thief that was caught on the CCTV that they can take with them, and it shocks them as they both recognise who the thief is. But before we get the bombshell of who the thief is, we see them take the exit from Mr. Singh's cash and carry, the London exit, and they emerge in London, finally meeting up with Apex and Cleo. And before we move on in this episode, I just want to say they need to get Mr. Singh back, because he was amazing in this episode, and he was just so amazing. I want him to come back in Doctor Who Redacted Series 3 if they do a third series. So, as I just said, Abby and Shawna meet up with Apex and Cleo, and they've kind of, Apex and Cleo have teleported down using the space manipulator to London, and Abby and Shawna have emerged in London by going through the London exit from Mr. Singh's cash and carry. And they make their way to Cleo's flat, which is, of course, in London, and Abby and Shawna immediately want to show the photo to Cleo of the thief. However, she keeps shutting them down. Now, this is a role reversal of how Rani shut Cleo down in episode 1 of this series, Regrets, when Cleo was explaining what she was researching for the Blue Box Files podcast. However, she keeps shutting Abby and Shawna down because she seems too self-absorbed in her own case. I mean, Honor is trying to kill her and Apex, but she's not letting Abby and Shawna in at all. And they are trying to tell her something that is really important, but she doesn't want to hear it. And it just seems to almost come out of nowhere, because she was mad with Rani for shutting her down, yet she's doing the exact same things to her friends. And on top of all this, Apex decides to just suddenly leave, I guess because he was worried about Abby and Shawna and that they were going to reveal to Cleo that he is the thief. However, he returns to Cleo at the end of this episode, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I digress. So now that Apex is gone, Abby and Shawna are more intent for Cleo to look at the photo. However, she is still shutting them down. However, with Apex gone, Shawna shouts to Cleo that Apex is the thief, as again she was still not looking at the photo, and upon actually taking the time to look at the photo now, Apex still doesn't believe it's Cleo, even though Cleo states that this looks exactly like Apex. So, but she doesn't believe that it's Apex or that he would steal for any bad reason. So that makes it erupt into a massive argument with Shawna and Abby to a lesser extent, mad at Cleo for trusting Apex over them, and Cleo mad at Abby and Shawna for thinking that Abby and Shawna abandoned her because they didn't believe in her rat case. So both sides are really mad at each other for kind of reasons. If they just worked it out and talked together and communicated well with one another, they wouldn't be having this massive argument. But they can't seem to see eye to eye in this case, which is, again, extremely weird. Just a bit of communication, which they have had throughout the whole of the last series and also at the start of this series. Just a tiny bit of communication would negate this argument. However, this splits them up again, as Cleo is so mad with them that she storms out of her apartment and, leaves behind Abby and Shawna. And as I said, once Cleo is outside, Apex teleports back to her, and both of them reveal that they can't walk away from each other. So maybe Apex was planning on leaving, but he can't walk away from each other. And I might get a lot of flack from this, from the way the story is presented in the next episode, but this is the start, but this interaction of Apex and Cleo both revealing to each other that they can't walk away from each other is the start of their toxic relationship. A bit, actually, like the Doctor and companion relationships in the main show, because some companions die because they are just unwilling to let the Doctor go. I mean, think of technically kind of Rose, Amy and Rory, Clara, maybe even Bill and Nardole. They are unwilling to let the Doctor go, and the Doctor is unwilling to let them go, that they die. And this relationship between Apex and Cleo is just like that Doctor-companion dynamic, because this is definitely a toxic relationship, which I will get into in the next breakdowns, coming out soon. And this episode ends with Apex and Cleo kissing in the moonlight. And I agree with Cleo and Apex that them kissing in the moonlight is really cheesy. But again, this is the start of a massive toxic relationship that really Apex and Cleo should know that they shouldn't be having. But that is just my thoughts. I thought this episode was amazing. So many other details. We finally got some answers. We finally knew for certain that Apex is the thief. We learned some more about the London Underground, Lady Honorbray, and had some amazing characters like Mr. Singh. But let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this episode, and also if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like. Also subscribe and share it out, and I will see you in the next one.